Today I'm going to show you how to start doodles. This is an excellent way to do doodling if you want to add something but really don't know where to begin. This will be a great way to do that. We'll be using lots of curves, repeated lines with different size pens. I'll be using a chisel tip Sharpie, a fine Sharpie, and then an extra fine for our variation. You can also buy different size pens like the Micron that'll give you different tips. I just wanted to show a couple of different examples. One of them is lines. So you could do thicker lines intermixed with thinner lines, and even though it's the exact same thing, the line size changes, so that adds variety to what we're looking at and it'll add visual interest. I also have a series of circles. You could do that and add a circle inside of a circle and then repeat that with a smaller pen and another pen outside of that. You could also change it to like a flower pattern. I have a scribble pattern I'm going to show you, and then also half circles. So I started with a half circle and then repeated that 2 times with a smaller pen and then once on the outside. For both of these, I started off with an S shape with a chisel tip marker. I like the chisel tip to start off with. It gives you a nice base, and we're just going to freehand it. They usually turn out a little better than if you try to plan it out too far. If you have a lot of empty space, you can also add a circle somewhere. You could also add swirls off to the side, but I'm not too worried about that right now. We can always add that in later. So I'm just going to start off with a series of circles. And if you make those about the size of like a nickel or a quarter, that works pretty well. White space in this is just as important as the black space. And you can go bigger or smaller. And it's okay if it goes into this as well. And I could carry that around to the outside. And then I'm going to put circles on the inside. We're just making a trail. They look kind of like olives a little bit. And I'm still using the medium-sized tip for this. I'm going to finish these circles around here. And they're going to get a little bit smaller, changing it up just a little bit. Then I'm going to switch the pen. So I'm going to do the circle pattern that I showed in the beginning. So I'm going to do a little circle inside of there, and then also on the outside. If your circles are big enough, you could even add another one on there, like that if you would like. And I would continue that all the way around. And I'm going to show the half circles over here. Those can be pretty good size too. Go ahead and take your design off the page. And I continue that up, and then I'm going to switch my pens to a smaller pen. Just echoing the lines of what you have already there will make this a very interesting drawing. So I continue that around as well. I can do a couple of different things with the space. I could do a scribble pattern. And one of the most important things with the scribble pattern, I feel, is to be sure not to touch the sides. That makes it look a little more controlled and done on purpose, as opposed to a more juvenile type drawing. So I'm going to keep that in here. I do that with the smaller pen. It's a great way to fill up white space, especially if you don't know what to do. On this other space, I'm going to show one more thing with the lines. So I'm going to go ahead and add those half circles. I'll fill those in later. Okay, and for these, we're just going to do a star off of here. So you can either use this pen, sometimes I do 2 to 3 lines, and just star out from wherever you are. Again, it's the repeated lines. So I'm going to go from right here, and I'm going to go back and fill in between with the smaller pen. You could do a couple of different things. You can continue to add a couple of lines in between here. You could do a scribble pattern in that space. You could also leave it blank. You could fill that in with lines the other way if you wanted to. I might just do this in between. And these are my half circles. I just go ahead and add that in, the skinny lines. I am using cardstock today, that way I don't have to worry about the pen bleeding through. If you do use regular paper and Sharpies, you could also use magazine pages underneath, or some type of newspaper or scrap paper. Recycle junk mail. Okay, so this is step 1.